It is Friday, the 20th of January. We continue exploring together the book of the prophet Isaiah today, continuing from where we left off yesterday. So Isaiah chapter 45, today looking at verses 18 to 25, the end of that particular chapter. And as I read these words and looked at some of the exegesis and understanding behind those words, I was struck with a sudden thought, and I share this with you. Imagine for a moment, it's a little game of imagination. Imagine for a moment, still at school, long time back maybe for some of us, and let's just imagine you had done artwork or you were in the English class, whatever, and you did this incredible artwork, which really was just wonderful. And the teacher was incredibly impressed. You got very high marks. The teacher asked to borrow your artwork to show the rest of the staff and her friends who are art teachers in some of the other schools. And eventually you realized that the time had gone by and you'd never received your artwork back. And when you looked again, there perhaps in the foyer of the school was your artwork, but underneath printed as if she was the artist or he was the artist, was your art teacher. They had effectively stolen your artwork or had laid claim to your artistic abilities and tried to make out that it was their own. Or you had written this incredible poem or song and all your mates were very impressed. Your English teacher was equally impressed. And the next minute you hear it being recited at the school play and your English teacher is claiming authorship of that. These are just two simple examples. I'm sure you can feel and think of rather many others, and you can well understand how irritating and annoying this is, and that's putting it mildly. This is a form of fraud and theft. Now, why I thought of that, and there are numerous other examples I could give, time does not permit, but why I thought of that was because I realized that there is a sense in which God created the world. Scripture is quite clear that out of nothing, God created everything. And it's incredible, just a little sidebar issue, at how closely that fits the theory of the Big Bang and the expanding universe, which is now a little subset of that theory, that it happened with great expansion and then the Big Bang suddenly happens. Out of nothing or out of something incredibly small, Scripture talks about the small size like a mustard seed, comes everything. And if God created everything, and then a few millennia later, here are people creating idols of wood and stone and metal, and they are claiming that these little so-called gods made everything and somehow have power over them. You can imagine how God, who is the author and creator of this entire universe, how he looks at them and thinks, that's ridiculous. I made it. I know that I made it. Here you are trying to fraudulently cheat and steal from me. No wonder God's upset. No wonder he has a right to be upset and to speak with anger and to speak with satire as he mocks them. I made you, in effect. He made the wood that has now been carved into an idol. He made the rocks that have been carved into an idol. He made the metal which has been clumped together to make an idol. No wonder he's upset. And so you and I need to make that choice. Is God the creator and Lord of everything? And again, God is very clear that from the very beginning, he has communicated his existence and his desire to work with us, right back to Adam and Eve, the first people on earth that he created in his image and called by his name. And he communicates with him. He is open, he is transparent. He then speaks many years later to a man, Abram, and his family. His name is changed later to Abraham, and he becomes the father of the nations, particularly the nation of Israel, but by faith, which is what Abraham used to respond to Christ or to God, that faith makes him the father of all of us who have faith, spiritual father. And so God has been open, and in the scripture passage today, God references those who practice divination and sorcery. They often hide in darkened rooms to do it so that no one can see that really it's just a mockery. It doesn't really happen. And so we must make our choice. Who do we believe? Do we believe in God who created everything that we see, including you and me, and he created us in his image? Do we believe in him, or do we turn our backs on him with the incredible risk that involves? Do we turn our backs on him, ignore him, and go after some other so-called God? It's a choice that we must make. And I would encourage you to make the right choice, and I would encourage you, having walked this journey myself, having encountered this God, now that I have put my faith and trust in him, to say that God, the God of the Old Testament, Yahweh, Jesus Christ, God in human form in the New Testament, he is God, and he is God alone, and has always been and always will be, and nothing else exists as a God. So follow him or follow nothing at all. Folks, have a wonderful day. We'll chat again next week. God bless.